I have downloaded the Gallagher NAIT Exchange zip file from the Gallagher website and have saved a copy on my desktop. When I open this file, I can see it contains a folder with the NAIT Exchange files, and by double clicking this I can view its contents. The file named Setup is used to install the software onto the computer. By double clicking this file we begin the installation. Depending on the security settings of the computer, a warning may appear which we can dismiss by clicking Run. The installation wizard will load the NAIT Exchange software onto the PC, and we click Next to begin. Here we are asked to confirm that we want to install the application, and we click Next to proceed. Once the installation is complete, we can click Close to exit the wizard. We can also close the zip file by the red X in the top right corner. We'll see that two shortcuts have been added to the desktop. One is to run the application itself, and the other is a shortcut to the Quick Start Guide, which is a PDF of instructions on how to use the NAIT Exchange program. I can open the NAIT Exchange program by double-clicking the icon from our desktop. The first time I run the application, I'll be presented with a registration page. Registration is free and is simply a process of following the web link shown here. Alternatively, we can skip the registration process for now, as we have 30 days in which to do this. The registration page will continue to show every time NAIT Exchange is run until I've registered online. Clicking the right arrow will take us into the NAIT Exchange application. Gallagher NAIT Exchange has a simple home screen with three large buttons in the centre. We also have help icons on various screens, which will give me more information about the page I'm currently on. Help panes can be closed simply by clicking away from them. My first task is to store my login details so that NAIT Exchange software is able to send data to the national database. I do this by clicking the Configure button. The configuration screen has areas for me to fill in my NAIT username and password at the top. Below this there is an area to optionally add a default NAIT number to be used throughout the application. This would usually be my NAIT number. Below we have an area where I can enter commonly used NAIT numbers and give them more meaningful names. This is optional, but as it is easier for me to remember the names of people than each one's NAIT number, we can store these into the system for easy reference in the future. This is done by clicking Add and simply entering the name and NAIT number for each one of the numbers that I wish to record. I can add multiple names to this list, and they will be sorted alphabetically in the list. I can be returned to the main home page by clicking OK. This will save the settings and return us to the start. Next I will show how to perform an animal registration. To do this I click on the Select Animals icon. Here I am presented with a list of all the files on my PC that have either come from Gallagher readers or Wayscales. Gallagher TSI users will be shown a list of sessions from their APS Office database. I can change the folder which NAIT Exchange is looking for files from by clicking the Change Folder button and browsing to the appropriate location. To begin my animal registration, I locate the file which contains the relevant animals. I can either double click this file or drag and drop it to the area on the right. This summary shows me I have 157 animals in this file, and they are all selected by default. As I only wish to register a few, I will click deselect all and manually select the 3 animals I wish to register by the checkboxes on the left. Clicking the arrow on the right will take us to the next page. The top pull down box is where I specify what type of transaction I am wanting to perform. In this case I wish to register animals, which is the default selection in any case. The detail required to register an animal is to be entered below. I can enter the NAIT number where an animal was born, or select unknown if I do not have this information. The NAIT number of first registration is to be my number, and the animal type is cattle. Clicking the right arrow will take me to the confirmation page, where I can see that I have 3 animals to send in this transaction. Clicking the right arrow again will begin the transaction to NAIT. Here I can see I had 3 animals sent to NAIT, and all 3 were updated successfully. Clicking the main menu button will return us back to the home page. The most common transaction for most users is either sending or receiving animals. I will now demonstrate how this is achieved with Gallagher NAIT Exchange by performing a send transaction. I begin as before by clicking select animals. I know the animals to be transferred were read in the first session file of the 12th of July, so I'll select this file and drag it to the right. I can add to this list of 3 animals by selecting the second file and dragging this over also. I now have 5 animals selected for this transaction, and clicking the right arrow will take us to the next page. As I am performing a send transaction, I'll select send animals from the pull down box. My NAIT number is automatically entered as a sending NAIT number, as it's been specified as the default in the configuration screen. These animals were sent to Fred, so I can either enter his number in here manually, or as I've entered his details on the configuration screen, I can select him from the pull down list. The date that the transaction took place can also be specified here, and the right arrow will take us to the confirmation screen where it shows the 5 animals to be sent in the transaction. Clicking the right arrow will begin the transfer. Here we can see 5 animals were sent to the NAIT database, and all 5 were updated successfully. Clicking the main menu button will return us to the home page. The final screen in NAIT Exchange is a history page. Here we can see all the transactions that have been done in the application and view the detail of each one. Here is the successful transfer that we did with the 5 animals listed. Here is an example of a failed transfer where I had the receiving NAIT number incorrect for the transfer. Returning to the main menu, we can exit the application by clicking exit, where we are asked for confirmation before closing the application. Remember that the Quick Start Guide also covers points that have been touched on in this video.